I would ask you, if you feel comfortable to do so, to sit up straight in your chair, plant your feet firmly on the ground, close your eyes, and pray with me. Breathe in God's love. Breathe out your gratitude. Breathe in God's forgiveness. Breathe out your guilt. Breathe in God's mercy. Breathe out your hope. Breathe in God's grace. Breathe out your joy. Breathe in God's peace. Breathe out your praise. Breathe in God's promise. Breathe out your adoration. Breathe. And thank you for another wonderful year in the Minneapolis Area Synod.
And Felicia, for your courageous leadership, for that report, for your prayers, and for the ways that we can partner together. It is very, very good to work together. Thank you. And now, Felicia, could I invite you to give a credentials report? Jumping up and down.
The credentials report from 11/23 is 137 rostered, 179 lay voting adult, 15 lay voting youth, 5 retired rostered.
Thank you, Felicia. We have already exceeded the quorum, so we are doing fine. We received that report. We move now to our third resolution, and with that, we take time to pray. I believe it's Deacon Abby Matter, chaplain at Maple Grove Hospital, who's going to lead us in prayer. Deacon Abby, if you could come to microphone 1, that would be wonderful. Thank you. Sound on number 1, please. Try it again. Somebody's coming to help you with sound.
We're good.
Okay.
It's on.
Thank you.
Okay, let us pray. God of refuge, you who carry your people through all circumstances, embrace and protect all refugees and immigrants, those children, mothers and fathers and siblings who received the assurance of shelter, protection, and support. Grant that their shelter is not removed, that their protection remains intact, and their support be ongoing. Stir wisdom in leaders to aid the most vulnerable in our midst, and grant healing when power is used to harm. And use us to heal and help those who are harmed. In the name of God and the God of all. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Deacon Abby. We now move to our next resolution, which is brought forward from 2 conference meetings and forwarded through Reference and Council Committee. Pastor Joseph, will you read the resolves of the resolution on accompanying immigrants? It's RC 202503.
Thank you, I will. There are actually 3 conferences. Our early version of this had left one out. So Crosstown, Central, and Southwest have all presented this to us. It's also worth noting there are several amendments that we've been notified of. Just a reminder, it's been working great. The amendment forms are at our Reference and Council table. When you make your amendment, wait for the bishop to recognize you. You'll have a green card. You'll say, I wish to amend, read your amendment, and then don't talk, because she's going to ask for a second, and then she'll invite you to speak to it. You don't speechify until it's been put out on the floor. So, be it resolved that the Minneapolis Area Synod, MAS, provide opportunities for continuing education and training for rostered leaders on the topic of accompanying immigrants. And be it further resolved that the Bishop of the Minneapolis Area Synod appoint a synodical immigration task force to accomplish the following concrete objectives. Identify increased funding sources and coordinate a synod-wide appeal for the benefit of our strategic ministries and immigrants and refugees within the synod. curate legal aid resources for individuals within the Synod, and work with the Office of the Bishop of the Minneapolis Area Synod to coordinate education, resources, and funding for this work. And be it further resolved that congregations be encouraged to make use of training opportunities and resources provided by the Synod and nonprofits serving immigrants such as Amparo, Global Refuge, and Lutheran Social Services, hold special offerings in support of immigrant-focused nonprofits or strategic ministries, and to pray for immigrant communities in their worship services regularly. And be it further resolved that the Bishop of the Minneapolis Area Synod prioritize the call to action and advocacy for immigrants and refugees at a state and federal legislative level and implement the recommendations of the Immigration Task Force.
Thank you, Pastor Joseph. Does not require a second. Is there discussion? On microphone number 1. Ooh. Please introduce
It's on.
yourself. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Pastor Rhonda Levinka from Salem English Lutheran Church in Uptown Minneapolis. I am one of the creators of this resolution, so I speak for it. I just wanted to let you know that this was written by people from 5 different conferences in the Minneapolis Area Synod, taken through 3 and approved by 3 of the conferences at their conference assemblies and adopted at those 3 out of 4 conferences. I just want to point out that the idea was to put together a task force that is not theoretical, but that has concrete objectives. The first of being fundraising, fund sourcing, and action in regards to populations in our synod that include immigrants, whether those be strategic ministry sites or other ministries that work with immigrants within our synod. Those concrete objectives were really important for the work that we were putting together. I will also say that this was done in coordination with conversations we had with several people who work in those strategic ministries.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? Yes, on mic 1.
Pastor Jacob Berkman, Ram Lutheran Church. I would like to make an amendment to this resolution.
Please read the amendment.
In line 18, I would like to replace synodical with synod. In other words, striking the ical at the end of synod.
The ical, okay. Do we have that on a screen? Is there a second to that motion, or that amendment? We've got a second. Is there discussion on that? Pastor Jacob.
This is a horribly peaky little point, but a number of years ago, the church-wide assembly decided to strike all the icals out of our constitutions, and I think that this should, the language of this should match that which we have there.
Thank you. So this is an amendment that's before us, so we're going to only be discussing this amendment. Is there further discussion about this amendment to strike the icals? Seeing no more people rising to discuss the icals, let us vote on this amendment. So we've got the amendment, and you can see it on the screen. All in favor of this amendment, green cards, and all opposed, red cards. This amendment has passed. Thank you. So now we come back to continued discussion. Pastor Joseph, are you in line again?
Jacob, yes.
Jacob,
I am.
excuse me.
Yes, I am.
Okay, go ahead.
I would like to make another amendment to the resolution.
Okay.
This is coming in line 25, and I would like, basically it is to split this resolved clause. So after the Lutheran Social Services, and be it further, new paragraph, resolved that congregations hold special offerings and support, et cetera, et cetera.
So So we have this second amendment. We have that on the screen. Is there a second to that amendment? We've got a second. Is there discussion? Pastor Jacob?
This is, for at least my thought, clarification, because there's one, a little bit unclear who is holding the special offerings, and also splitting up that special offerings from the training and opportunities that in the previous resolved clause.
Thank you. Is there further discussion on this amendment? Let's vote on this amendment. Those in favor of this amendment, please raise your green cards. And those opposed, please raise your red cards. This amendment passes. Thank you, Pastor Jacob. I think there's probably a spot on Reference and Counsel for you very soon. That's a gift. Take the gift. Now we go back to further discussion. On mic number 1.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Yeah, that's what the Catholics call him. I would move to amend this resolution.
Can you tell us your name and what congregation you're coming from also?
Shoot. August Olson, Gethsemane Lutheran Church.
Thank you.
I would move to amend this resolution to insert before the final resolved that this assembly urge the Bishop of the MAS to act without regard to immigration laws which are contrary to the 1998 ELCA social message on immigration and contrary to the United States Constitution, and that the Bishop of the MAS supports MAS congregations which choose to ignore these laws.
So I hear a second. Thank you, Arthur. And now it is time to discuss this amendment. Would you go first to discuss?
Yes. When we look at the resolution before us, it is, in a sense, a profession of faith. We have our faith in immigrants. We have our faith in their belonging and their right to be here. And we urge them, and we urge Congress, and we urge all these other people to help them stay. But faith without works is dead. When we will not act on our faith and act on our words, we have nothing. If Christ showed his love to everyone but did not act upon the cross, what would we have? If the apostles showed their faith but did not spread it in violation of the Roman laws, what would we have? We have nothing without our deeds. We must be action in our faith, not just words.
Thank you, Arthur. So that was an amendment that has been put forward. Is there other discussion on that amendment? So that last resolve that's been added, and you can see it on the screen here, actually second to last, you can see it on the screen in red. Other discussion about that amendment, for or against? So seeing none, let's vote on that amendment. Oh, one more. Introduce yourself, please, first.
Pastor Ryan Prunzinski, St. John's Lutheran Church of Mound, Lord have mercy. As an Air Force veteran who swore an oath to protect the Constitution, including the laws of the land, I just want to say this makes me very nervous because it sounds like we're asking you to break the law. And that would include our chaplains in the Synod as well, who also took that same oath, and you're putting them in a really icky, wicky, sticky, bad spot for our dual role people who are both ELCA pastors and chaplains in the Department of Defense. I'm not saying that the United States is perfect, but I also think to myself that Christ does not call us to be lawless people. He said, I came not to break the law, but to fulfill it. And I know that God's law is not the same as man's. This starts to get into the left-handed kingdom versus right-handed kingdom. I don't have enough time for 2 minutes. I'm just saying this amendment needs more consideration than this floor can do today. And I'm happy to have that conversation beyond this time. It doesn't feel like this is the right space to do that. So I'm just going to name that. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Ryan. I'm going to turn to our parliamentarian. Do you want to make a comment?
I do. Could we put the amendment back up? I would just point out to the speaker and to the rest of the audience, I understand that concern, but I believe the way that this resolution is worded actually takes care of that concern because, and again, I know you haven't had any time to read it. It was just blipped up in front of you, but here it is now. We urge the Bishop of the Minneapolis Area Synod to act without regard to what? To immigration laws that are contrary to some statement of the ELCA and the United States Constitution. So this says, we ask the bishop to act without regard to, with regard to this issue, laws that are contrary to the United States Constitution. That is what this says. From a legal, I'm sorry, I need to repeat back to what you said because not everyone heard it. You asked me if I was saying all of the Constitution. And my answer is the language, the legal interpretation of this language is that we are asking the bishop to do something without regard to immigration laws that are contrary to the United States Constitution. That would include the entire Constitution. Yep. Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you, parliamentarian. That was helpful. So now we go back to discussing the amendment that Arthur put forward. Is there any further discussion? Let us vote on that amendment. It's the one that's in red on the screen. All in favor of the amendment, green cards, please. All opposed to the amendment, red cards. And there are green cards have passed, so we have passed that amendment. Thank you. So now we go back to discussing the entire resolution as it's been amended. On microphone 1.
Thank you, Reverend Chair. Clarence Smith, Woodlight Lutheran Church in Richfield. I move to amend.
Have you given already the amendment to, do we have it up for the screen?
I'm sorry, I don't have the line number ahead of me. Pastor Crippen rightfully reminded us that the first time we use an acronym, we should spell it out. So I'm referring to the line that discusses Amparo. That is an acronym. And more importantly, whether we spell it out or not, the acronym is misspelled. And I can speak to that when you're ready.
So you'd like to move the amendment. Is there a second to this amendment? Thank you. Would you please speak to it, Clarence?
Yes. So Amparo was a policy or an initiative passed by the Churchwide Assembly in 2016, the Assembly in New Orleans. I'll have to look it up, but as I recall, the acronym stands for Accompanying Migrant Minors, so 2 M's, with protection, advocacy, representation, and opportunity. So 2 M's, 1 R. I just feel like we should get it right, is the reason for bringing this up.
And you also asked that it would be spelled out, correct?
Per Reverend Council Chairman's suggestion that acronyms be spelled out, because folks may not know what that acronym stands for.
Thank you. Can somebody get this on the screen so we've got it corrected? It is an acronym that I often get confused on. I understand.
Can you tell us again?
So this is line number 24 that we're working with, and it's Amparo. It might be best if somebody just look it up on the website so we have it correct.
I've got it.
Okay.
Here's how it's worded from the elca.org website. Accompanying migrants with protection, advocacy, representation, and opportunities. There are 2 M's and 1 R, but not in the spelled out thing. That's way above my pay grade. So, accompanying migrants with protection, advocacy, representation, and opportunities. Commas between every one, Jeff, while you're typing there.
So getting that up on the screen, that's good. Is there any further discussion on this amendment? Any further discussion on this amendment?
Yeah, we got a little bit of spelling issues here, but I think if you trust us, we'll clean it up. It's accompanying, say that one fast. There's an extra O in accompanying you want to get rid of.
So we're going to get that cleaned up. We're not going to wait
Yeah,
for that.
that's right.
Okay? So let's vote on this amendment. All in favor, green cards? All opposed, red cards? And this amendment passes. Thank you. Further discussion on this resolution as amended. Microphone number 1, please.
Hello, I'm Melissa Melnick Gonzalez, pastor of Tapestry in Ridgefield, one of 3 synodically authorized worshiping communities in the Minneapolis area synod, or SOCs, or mission developments, or church plants, all 3 of which serve primarily immigrants. And I don't know if this is a resolution, or whatever, I don't know. What do you call them?
An amendment?
Amendment, because I'm not good at that stuff. But anywhere where this says strategic, it seems to me that it should say new and strategic ministries, because SOCs are not considered strategic ministries officially, I believe.
I'm looking to Joseph.
And what are you looking for, Bishop?
I've been told to think, so I'm just thinking. I think that that would be a good amendment to make. It'd be good to have that written down. And let's get that written down.
Okay, so Melissa, just correct me. You want new and?
Correct.
So, line 20, the benefit of our new and strategic ministries. And line 25, immigrant-focused nonprofits or new and strategic ministries.
Correct.
So just those 2, line 20 and 25, insert new and.
I think so.
Thank you, Joseph.
Sure.
Thank you, Pastor Melissa. Wonderful. Is there any other further discussion on this amendment? Was there a second? Second. Any further discussion on this amendment? All in favor of this amendment, green cards. All opposed, red cards. So this amendment passes. So now we go back to conversation, we go back to discussion about this amended, many times over, resolution. Any further discussion on this resolution? Come to the microphone, please. Tell us your name and your congregation.
Christy Will, and I'm from Holy Trinity Lutheran Church in New Prague.
Thank you.
Are we allowed to ask for an amendment to something that has just been amended?
I believe we can't amend an amendment, is that correct?
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to call the parliamentarian.
Okay.
First of all, thank you for actually needing me today. Okay, generally speaking, you can't amend an amendment while you're amending it, but we've already passed that amendment. So now what's in front of you is this whole document as one thing with the changes that we've already made, as if that was what was presented to you. So we can take more amendments.
Christy, go ahead.
So I believe it's in line 30.
So line 30 would be it's in the last resolved, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Or maybe it's 31 then.
30,
I would just
33.
like it to be amended that something language-wise that's like with support or recommendations from somebody who has like legal knowledge.
Like in consultation with a lawyer?
Yeah.
I'm not clear which line we're talking about though, so help me out, please.
Well,
New 33?
Yeah, my whole issue is that I feel like this is opening us up to, or someone opening it up to, discussion of interpretation of immigration law.
So I think we're actually talking about line 30,
Okay.
Pastor Joseph.
New line 30?
Because it's the new line 30, because we're talking
Oh,
about the
gotcha.
newly amended part, right?
Correct.
Okay. And what language, and you're suggesting,
Just
help me out.
something like with guidance from
So can you,
legal counsel.
you can make an amendment, that's a fair thing to do. Can you
Okay.
give us the actual language? I can't do it for you, but I can encourage you to put into words what you're saying.
Okay. I'm on the spot now.
So we're talking resolved that the assembly urge the bishop of the Minneapolis area synod
With guidance from legal counsel to act without regard. To add that.
So there'd be a comma after MAS, with guidance of legal counsel, comma, to act in line 30.
Correct.
So we're seeing it come onto the screen. Is there a second to this? We've got a second for this. Now we can discuss. Christy, would you like to say more?
I just think that just to have our bases covered and to make sure that the interpretation of it is consistent throughout the whole ELCA.
Thank you. Throughout the synod. Thank you, Christy.
Synod, yeah.
Yes. So is there further discussion on this amendment? All in favor, let's vote. All in favor of this amendment, green cards? Any opposed to this amendment, red cards? And this amendment has passed. Thank you. So now we go back to discussing the full resolution. Is there any further discussion on the full resolution? Corla is not coming forward, but somebody else is coming forward.
Pastor Paul Burrow, Family of God Lutheran Church. I'm in favor of justice for immigrants and for compassion and following the laws of the United States. However, can you put it up right there? Okay, if I can read it with my glasses here. It says, without regard to immigration laws which are contrary to the 1988 ELCA social message. I think that's probably pretty clear. On immigration in the United States Constitution, who is in this particular piece of legislation that we're putting forward is to decide how the Constitution is to be interpreted, because that's a big question. Does it mean, as I read it, that you, the bishop, are responsible for that with legal consultation? If so, how do you feel about that?
How she feels is kind of irrelevant.
You want to say that? I'm going to invite the parliamentarian to comment.
First, I appreciate the comment, and I appreciate how everyone here is trying to lean into faith and speak issues that are important to us in ways that are as inclusive as we can be. So thank you for that. With regard to interpretations of the Constitution or interpretations of the ELCA statement or interpretations of Minnesota law or interpretations of federal law, your organization, the Minneapolis Area Synod, makes those interpretations every day. We decide, you decide, what the law requires and you follow that law. Now, sometimes you call a lawyer about that, sometimes you don't, not my business. But with regard to the concern you're raising, it's a concern that's already exists in the organization that we all live in, right? Because let me put it in an example that might clarify for you. I drove here from Roseville. The speed limit is 65, maybe. I definitely drove over 65. I made a choice about that was deciding whether or not my behavior was okay, not okay. Other people were driving 45. I happen to know that it's not legal to drive 45 if the speed limit is 65, right? They were making a different decision. We all got here safely. We make these choices every day. So by you trying to clarify this now, with regard to just this resolution, I need to reflect back to you, do you need to look at every other direction that you've given your bishop and ask her to make sure that she's following the law? I think you probably would say no, and I think you also, because this is your words I'm reflecting back, are not trying to open any kind of a wedge so that we can debate what is or is not allowed by the U.S. Constitution. Thankfully, we each have a vote on that at various opportunities. It's not today. That's my response.
No applause.
Thank you, Parliamentarian Tammy. Further discussion? And please, if it's helpful if you have your red or green card so we can tell which side you're voting on or which side you're speaking on. You can say it out loud to me this time, but in the big picture.
Regrettably, I'm a red card.
A red card? Okay, name and congregation, and then...
Reverend Dale Hume from St. Olaf Lutheran Church. And it's the logic of this resolution that was introduced that I don't feel we had enough time to talk about or discuss. And obviously it comes with many questions. I agree with what the gentleman before me said, but now after the interpretation from the parliamentarian, the question is not so much how the bishop decides it, how the bishop represents us as a church in the world, and how that will be interpreted if the bishop makes some kind of decision that is contrary to what someone might consider to be constitutional law. I mean, I understand Constitution decisions are made by the United States Supreme Court, not by the bishops of churches. So that's my comment.
Thank you. So that's discussion. Is there further discussion? That was discussion against the resolution, as I understood it. Is there further discussion for the resolution? We alternate back and forth. Speaking for?
Speaking for. My name is Christina Hill. I'm the pastor of Cross of Hope Lutheran in Ramsey, and I would like to thank the authors of this resolution. And I want to echo what we've been talking about this whole assembly, about the amount of overwhelm we feel as clergy, as congregations, as some of these laws emerge and we wonder, what are we going to do? What can we do? We are hungry to act in response, in support of our immigrant and refugee neighbors, and we don't always know how to do that. And I am so grateful when I saw this resolution that it has concrete actions. For these are resources we're going to provide for congregations. This is funding we're going to provide for congregations. I admit I was a little worried when I first read it that it was going to be a generic, yeah, we support immigrants, and that's that. I'm really grateful to see that the Synod is looking to take concrete action to help not only our immigrant neighbors, but to help our congregations know how we can help as well, because I think that is something we all really want to do.
Thank you. So that was speaking for. We're going to take somebody speaking against. It's okay.
The line was short.
Can you tell us?
My name is Walt Hahnemann. I'm from St. Barnabas Lutheran in Plymouth. I was planning on voting for this resolution until we added the language about instructing the bishop and the MAS to ignore laws that violate the U.S. Constitution. I'm not comfortable putting that language out there. Yes, we do interpret laws every day, whether we follow them or whether we don't, but we're putting specific language out there requiring our representatives to determine specifically what laws to follow and what laws not to follow. We're making a judgment that I think overrides what our normal approach would be, and I'm just not comfortable with that. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. I would ask the tech people if we could get the whole thing up on the screen so we all are clear what's in the resolution currently as it's been amended. That's just helpful. Are we seeing all of it, or are there some at the bottom we're not seeing? That's all of it? Okay. It's too small. Can you make it larger and then start at the top and slowly scroll through it? And I'm going to ask the next speaker who would be speaking for.
Pete Schuster, Holy Trinity Lutheran Church in New Prague. I don't think we have any constitutional lawyers in this audience. Is that true? Our regime is currently breaking constitutional law. And if you watch what's going on in the courts, 9-0, so the constitutional law is kind of an amorphous thing. You get 10 lawyers in a room and they're going to give you 10 different interpretations. So I think the message is not breaking the law, because the law is changing, but to do what is right and just. Law and justice aren't always the same. And we're sending lambs to lions as we speak. So I just advise that people don't get hung up on the law and the constitutionality of it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm seeing a card in the back. Point of order, so this person can speak first, and then we'll come back to you.
Hello. Oh, sorry. My name is Beth Erickson. I'm a lay voting member from Nativity Lutheran in St. Anthony. I actually am a constitutional attorney with a background in civil rights law. Thank you. I'm a little nervous because I wasn't intending to speak on this today, but I wanted to step in and just add a few comments based on the information that I do have and can share. The language that is written in here from the perspective of the information that I have is directing us to not to break the Constitution, but to act in accordance with the Constitution as it is currently written. I think, as most of us know, as we are following the news today, the Constitution is written as it is, but it is subject to interpretation, and it is a little bit in flux. To speak to what the parliamentarian said, we are not asking the staff here to make legal decisions, but we are asking them to follow the Constitution as it currently stands. I think that with all decisions there are risks, and the risk here would be that the Constitution would be interpreted differently, but we are not asking anyone to openly violate the Constitution. We're asking you to act in accordance with the Constitution as it currently stands. That is how I interpret this based on what is now 20 years of experience doing constitutional law. I hope that that's helpful.
Thank you. I'm going to ask for more discussion. Yes.
Hi, I'm a kind of like a Trey Teller from a kind of like Holy Trinity, like a kind of like a Lutheran, and in a kind of like Minneapolis, kind of like a speaking for. I kind of just like want to pull out the a kind of a prior point about kind of like a two kingdoms, and also a thinking about the like a kind of like a vocation of the like a kind of like a church and also a state. Kind of just like want like to point out that even in like a kind of like in that case that that a kind of like a God's like a kind of law like a kind of like a call, like and also a message, kind of like a super, like a kinds of seeds, kind of like any kind of any kind of like earth, like a kind of like earthly, like a kind of like order. Second, kind of like a pointing out that like a kind of like a separation in kind of like in vocation doesn't apply in kind of like in a times of kind of like in a times of a crisis, like a kind of like according to like a kind of like a Dietrich, like a kind of like a Bonn, like a kind of like Hofer. And I just think that like a kind of like this is like that a crisis point. And so our church's call then is to kind of like get out of like the bounds of our kind of like a usual, like a kind of like a vocation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to ask you to hold your applause. I see another card speaking for at microphone number 2.
Brenda Freusland from Bethel Lutheran Church in South Minneapolis. I just want to reiterate that we elected our current bishop a year ago, and to trust that she will make appropriate decisions based on what this resolution offers, and gives her space and opportunity to speak to what is important and in conjunction with the gospel of Jesus Christ. And I, for one, I know I'm not alone, trust that Bishop Jen, will do that very thing in consultation with the appropriate people. And so I think let's move forward, and I stand in support of this amended several times resolution and in support of trusting our bishop.
Thank you. I'll hold the applause. I see one more red card. Please come forward to mic number 2.
Hi, I'm Dan Schmidt, Belle Plaine, Minnesota with St. John Church. And I'm going to vote no for, obviously, for the resolution. But it's not because I'm against the resolution. It's just that I think that the wording just needs to be cleaned up. And maybe, if it's possible, can it be put in it may not happen today, but could it be put in a positive phrasing?
Thank you. Is there other discussion? Otherwise, we're going to move to the vote, and that means moving to lunch.
Well, that doesn't feel like a fair thing to say right before I come up. Pastor Katie Jorgensen at Faith in Waconia. Clarification question: are we discussing the whole resolution at this point, or the proposed amendment?
It's the whole resolution at this point.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for asking. I see one more person at mic number 1.
Deacon Lauren Morswine, Edina Community Lutheran. I call the question.
Thank you. You know, since I had already called the question, we're not going to do the 2/3 vote that we would need to do this next thing, so we're going to move ahead and vote. All in favor of voting on this amended resolution, please raise your green cards. Keep them up. All opposed to this resolution, please raise your red cards. Thank you. And this resolution, as amended, passes. Thank you all. Thank you. So we are going to move to lunch. I'm going to invite you to take a big, deep breath as we do that. And I'm going to invite forward Sarah Maslowski.
Before we break for lunch, a couple of announcements. There will be 3 breakout options for lunchtime. The youth can join one another and Bishop Jen for lunch in the youth room, which is just across the hallway, and you will actually be asked to go, you'll be dismissed first to get your lunch. Second, there will be a faith formation leaders time together, and you are invited to gather in the library, which is near the front entrance where you registered. And finally, there will be a budget conversation with our Synod Treasurer, Ross Eichelberger, and our Synod Accountant, Kelly Grun, and that will be held in the sanctuary, also near the registration table you started at. Also, if you just need a break and some sunshine, it's beautiful outside, and there are tables right out this direction to sit in and find a quiet spot indoors or outdoors for yourself. Our lunch is a taco buffet with something to satisfy all dietary desires and requests. And youth members will be dismissed first, and then the rest of you. So please wait for your floor team members to queue your table. And finally, we have a brief note from Lacey, a member of our Synod Eco-Faith team, on composting.
Hello, my name is Lacey Tucker-Kirkevold, and I am one of the volunteer organizers for our Synod's Eco-Faith Network. And our goal here at Synod Assembly is to be as close to zero waste as possible. We know in our current world today that that is very difficult to do, but we want to invite you to be a part of us accomplishing this goal. So at lunch, all of the napkins, cutlery, beverage cups, wooden stir sticks, and all of those types of things are all compostable, and they can go in the green bags that you see. We have 3 in here, 1 outside this door and 1 outside that door, and we're gonna make sure that all of that gets composted and goes back to the earth. So we have the organics recycling. The one thing to note about those is the tea bags cannot go in there because unfortunately they have plastic in them. And also, please do not put liquids in them because they are kind of fragile and we don't want to see any incidences. So we have liquid buckets that Eric is so nicely holding up over here, and we ask that you please dispose of your liquids in the bucket before then disposing of the different containers and the receptacles. We'll have volunteers by each of these sorting stations to help you. So if you have any questions about composting or recycling, please feel free to ask them or me at any point during the assembly. Thank you all for being a part of helping us be a zero waste event.
And before we sing our prayer and head to lunch, just a reminder, we will resume promptly at 1:20.
Lunch goes out the exit out the back.
Got it. You will be, when you are asked to go eat, you will exit out the back, and there's lots of people who are going to be helping you get into your lines. All right, there should be words on the screen for our prayer. Many of you know, but if not, please sing and join us. Be present at our table, Lord. Be here and everywhere adore. These mercies bless and grant that we may strengthen for thy service be.
Let's see if they actually turn us on.
Check, test, 1, 2.
Yeah.
I shall walk in the presence of God. I shall walk with the sun and the rain upon me. I shall walk in the land of the living, living land. I shall walk with my sisters and brothers around me. I shall walk. We're not really walking. We're kind of sitting, waiting for lunch. If you are up walking, you can sing along with us. If you're still sitting, you can sing along with us too. It's not hypocrisy to sing about walking, even as you're sitting. And I would like that to be an amendment to the next resolution. I shall walk in the presence of God. I shall walk with the sun and the rain upon me. I shall walk in the land of the living. In the land of the living, living land, I shall walk. walk with my sisters and brothers around me. With my sisters and brothers around me, I shall walk. Let's sing. I shall sing in the presence of God.